You lost it again over something small. A tone in a meeting, a text that read colder than it was meant, a driver who slid into the gap you had been patiently holding. And hours later, long after the moment was dead, you were still in the shower prosecuting the case, delivering the perfect comeback to a person who wasn't even there. Winning, again and again, an argument that ended this morning. And underneath all that heat sat a quieter feeling you don't like to name. While it was happening, you were not in control. This is the philosophical Reframe, where ancient wisdom meets modern problems. Here is my promise for the next 20 minutes. You're getting 3 Stoic practices that don't manage your anger. They take it apart at the point of manufacture. First, you'll see the split-second courtroom that convenes in your head every time someone wrongs you, and learn exactly where to interrupt the proceedings. Second, you'll run a 60-second audit that will make your last outburst look like the worst trade you made all year. And stay for the end, because the third practice closes with the oldest anger training ritual on record. 3 questions a Roman senator asked himself in bed every single night. Questions that retrain your temper while you lie in the dark. I'll give you all 3, word for word. But first, a thread from the last episode. If you were here, you watched Jean-Paul Sartre catch you saying, "I have to," about things you were freely choosing. The lie he called bad faith. And you watched Soren Kierkegaard unmask the phantom crowd whose opinions were ghostwriting your calendar. That episode ended with you taking the pen back. But there is one room in your life where almost everyone keeps the lie running. One sentence Sartre would have circled in red ink. "I couldn't help it. You made me angry." Made you. As if your temper were weather, something that rolls in from outside, flattens the afternoon, and moves on, with no author anywhere in sight. This episode is about that sentence. Because 19 centuries before Sartre named the costume, a Roman philosopher had already torn it off. Stoicism solved your anger problem nearly 2,000 years ago, and not from a mountaintop. His name was Lucius Annaeus Seneca, senator, playwright, one of the richest men in Rome, and personal advisor to the Emperor Nero. Sit with that job description. The most dangerous temper in the known world stood a few feet from his desk, wearing a crown, and Seneca's survival depended on reading it correctly every single day, until the day it killed him anyway. When Seneca wrote about anger, he wasn't theorizing from a quiet garden. He was a storm chaser writing from inside the storm. In the middle of the 1st century, he addressed a work to his brother, Novatus, 3 books called De Ira, on anger. It opens by endorsing an old description. Anger is a brief madness, a temporary resignation of the mind from its own post. But the book's real claim is stranger and far more useful, and it is the reframe this entire episode hangs on. The Stoics argued that anger is not a reaction. It is not a reflex, not a boil over, not something the body does to you. Anger is a judgment, a verdict. Here's the model, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Someone cuts you off, talks over you, ignores your message. Step 1. An impression arrives. I have been wronged. It shows up uninvited, like a knock on the door. Step 2. And this is the moment anger is actually born. Your mind assents. It signs the finding. The wrong is real, it matters, and the offender must pay. That last clause is the signature. The Stoics defined anger as exactly that, the desire to punish, to repay a wrong. Which means every episode of anger you have ever had contained a tiny courtroom, an accusation, a trial lasting a fraction of a second, and a sentence handed down. And in that courtroom, You were never the victim. You were the judge. So understand what this episode is not. This isn't anger management, breathing slowly while the verdict stands. This is anger jurisprudence. You're going to learn how the verdict gets signed, what the signature costs, and how to stop signing. 3 practices. The first one begins with the strangest concession Seneca ever made. Practice 1. The verdict delay. Seneca conceded something you would not expect from a Stoic. The first jolt is not up to you. The flush in your face, the spike in your chest, the jaw that tightens when the insult lands. The Stoics called these first movements, and Seneca ruled them innocent. They are not anger. They are weather in the body, involuntary, automatic, ungovernable. Even the sage flinches when a dog barks. Even the wisest person alive gets shoved by an impression. The shove is not the crime, said the Stoics. The shove is just physics. Anger begins one step later, at the moment of assent, when you take the impression, "I've been wronged, and he must pay," and sign it as true. That distinction changes everything, because it moves the fight onto winnable ground. You cannot stop the jolt. Stop trying. You can absolutely withhold the signature. And between jolt and signature there is a gap, brief but real, and yours. Seneca's entire first practice lives inside that gap, and he compressed it into the most practical sentence in all 3 books. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Not because waiting calms you down, although it does, because delay is procedural. A verdict cannot be signed while the court is adjourned. Anger, Seneca noticed, has one strange structural weakness. It is urgent. It demands now, reply now, shout now, punish now. It cannot make its case tomorrow, because by tomorrow the evidence has shrunk to its actual size. Postpone anger and you are not suppressing it. You are letting it die of natural causes. Now look at your modern life, because your angers have become textual. The email that reads like an accusation, the group chat message with the strange edge, the comment that undercuts you in front of the meeting. The modern world has installed a reply button directly inside the gap, a send arrow positioned at the exact second the verdict is hottest. Seneca had to walk across Rome to lose his temper at someone in writing. You can do it in 9 seconds, and the record is permanent. Your action step, the adjournment rule. For the next 7 days, one rule: no response inside the jolt. When the heat arrives, face, chest, jaw, name it silently. That's the jolt, that's not the verdict. Then adjourn the court. Any message that angered you waits a minimum of 1 hour before you answer. Any in-person flash, you buy the gap however you can. A glass of water, a bathroom break, a slow question instead of a fast statement. You are not swallowing your anger. You are refusing to hold court drunk. Watch what happens on the other side of the hour. Most cases, you'll find, get thrown out by the very judge who was ready to sign. But be honest about what delay is. It buys you the gap. It doesn't tell you what to do when the court reconvenes. For that, Seneca hands the judge a ledger, and the numbers in it are going to embarrass you. That's practice 2. Practice 2, the Cost Audit. About a generation after Seneca was forced to open his veins on Nero's orders, Stoicism found its most powerful student in history. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, writing private notes to himself by lamplight. Notes never meant for you to read, which is exactly why they're honest. In them, he wrote the line that is practice 2, and I want you to hear it slowly. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? Read that again. The thing that made you angry has a price. Your anger about it has a bigger one. Almost always, almost everywhere, and the judge who signs the verdict pays both bills. Seneca saw the same asymmetry from inside the storm. Anger, he argued, is the one vice that never pays for itself. It purchases a moment of revenge at the price of the purchaser. He even proposed the bluntest remedy in the ancient world: show the angry man a mirror. Let him watch what the verdict does to his own face. The punishment he is drafting for someone else is already being executed on him. Run this against your own record. The outburst at work. The offense was a colleague interrupting you. Cost maybe 30 seconds of feeling small. Your reply cost a reputation that took 4 years to build and 40 seconds to dent, in front of the exact people you needed. The furious email. The offense was a careless sentence. The reply is now a document, forwarded, screenshotted, permanent. And the shower argument from the top of this episode, the one you kept winning? The offense took 10 seconds of your morning. The prosecution took your whole evening. The other person doesn't even know court was in session. You paid both bills, and one of them was invoiced to nobody but you. Your action step. The 60-second audit. Tonight, take your last 3 angers, big or small, and draw 2 columns. Left column, what the offense actually cost you. Count it honestly: minutes, money, real damage. Right column, what your anger cost, or nearly cost. Time replaying it, sleep, words you can't retrieve, the version of you that other people now carry in their heads. Then compare columns. In almost every audit you will ever run, the left column holds pennies, and the right column holds rent. From now on, before any verdict gets signed, the judge sees the ledger. Am I willing to pay more than the offense cost me? Delay and audit are defense. They catch bad verdicts after the case is already drafted. The third practice is offense. It stops most cases from reaching your courtroom at all, and it works by doing something your anger will initially hate: downgrading the charges. Stay with it. This one ends with the ritual I promised you. Practice 3. The downgrade. Every angry verdict rests on a premise, usually unexamined. He did that to me deliberately. Malice, intended, aimed, personal. And the Stoics attack precisely there. Most of what enrages you, they argue, is not malice. It is error, blindness, incompetence, overload. People trampling your morning, not because they chose you as a target, but because they cannot see what they're doing. Sometimes cannot see you at all. Marcus Aurelius built his whole morning around this. He would prepare himself before leaving his tent, in words he wrote down in the 2nd book of his private notes. The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly, because they cannot tell good from evil. That is not cynicism. Read it again, and you'll hear what it actually is. It's inoculation. He is downgrading the day's offenses in advance, from crimes to symptoms, so that when they arrive, no court convenes. And Seneca reaches the same verdict about the whole species, himself included. We are bad men living among bad men. Nobody arrives at adulthood finished. You are not surrounded by villains. You are surrounded by amateurs, fellow amateurs at being human, and so are they. Here is the move itself. The downgrade takes each charge and reduces it 1 degree, from malice to blindness, from insult to error, from enemy to fellow patient. You already know how to do this, because you already do it selectively. When a toddler screams at you, you don't convene court. You see tiredness, not treason. When a grieving friend snaps at you, you waive the charge without thinking. You possess the entire skill. The practice is extending it to people whose excuses you can't see. The driver, the cold email, the parent's criticism that is mostly fear wearing armor. Assume blindness before malice, and watch how many cases never make it to trial. And before your sense of justice objects, no, this is not letting everyone off. The Stoics were senators, generals, emperors. They held people accountable all day long. The downgrade removes the punishment lust, not the response. You can still correct the colleague, still set the boundary, still protect what needs protecting, the way a good judge protects the city without hating the defendant. Calm accountability outperforms hot punishment everywhere it competes with it. The downgrade doesn't lower your standards, it lowers your temperature, so your standards can actually work. Which brings us, as promised, to the ritual. Practice 3's action step is the oldest anger training exercise on record. In the third book of On Anger, Seneca describes what he did every single night. When the lamp was out and the room was quiet, he put his entire day on trial, hiding nothing from himself, passing over nothing. Then he pardoned himself with a warning. Here is that ritual, sized for your life. Tonight, in bed, lights off, 2 minutes, 3 questions. 1. Where did I get angry today? Name every case, even the petty ones, especially the petty ones. 2. What verdict did I sign, and would the evidence survive this room? It's quiet now. You'll find most convictions collapse on review. 3. What will I downgrade tomorrow? Pick one recurring offense, the interruption, the traffic, the tone, and reduce the charge in advance, the way Marcus did at dawn. 2 minutes. That's the whole ritual. But understand why it works, because this is the deepest thing Seneca knew about anger. You cannot retrain a judge mid-trial. In the hot moment, the gavel is already moving. The training happens in chambers, at night, in the calm, when the day's verdicts can be reviewed without a crowd in the courtroom. Do this nightly for 2 weeks, and you will notice something strange in the daytime. The gap between jolt and signature gets wider on its own. The judge has started to remember the reviews. So here is the reframe. You thought your anger was evidence of what they did. It was always a record of what you signed. Anger is not weather that happens to you. It never was. It is a verdict, an impression, an assent, a sentence, all of it issued in a courtroom where you have permanent tenure and nobody else has standing. The jolt will always come. Seneca himself never promised you a body that doesn't flinch. But between the bark and the bite, there is a desk, and you are the one sitting at it. Last episode, the existentialists took the pen out of the crowd's hand and gave it back to you. Tonight, the Stoics do the same thing with the gavel. It turns out both episodes were about the same discovery. There is an author in the room, and it's you. And notice what this does to the people you've been envying, the calm ones, the unbothered colleague, the friend who never seems to take the bait. You thought they were repressing something, or that life just hadn't hit them hard enough. Wrong on both counts. They are not calmer than you. They are stricter judges than you. They've simply raised the bar for what deserves their signature. The angriest person you know isn't the strongest person you know. They're the loosest court in town, where every petty case gets a full trial and a maximum sentence, and the judge pays the costs. Strength was never in the outburst. Strength is a dismissed case. Before you go, run the 3 questions tonight. And then come tell me in the comments, what's the pettiest verdict you signed this week? Be specific. Mine involved a supermarket queue and a man with 19 items in the 10-item lane. I signed instantly. Full sentence, no appeal. I read every comment, and this week, the pettier your case, the better. That's the whole point of the review. And that's your philosophical reframe. If this episode moved something in you, pass it forward. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is ancient wisdom, addressing modern problems and providing new perspective. I'll see you in the next one.